I can't even imagine. Have you heard those words and thought to yourself, neither can I? But it happened. You lived it. But most importantly, you survived it. We hear you, we see you, and we're here to talk about it. We're two moms, lifelong best friends, and we've both experienced traumatic, life-altering events involving our children.
Yeah, apparently that word is really old now.
Oh, cringy?
Yeah, that's so 2022. That's what my kids told me the other day.
It's so 2022.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, so just
like,
FYI.
we talked about this earlier. That's just like a blip.
I know.
You were talking about 2019. You're like, yeah, that was like yesterday, bro.
I know. But that's like when my mom, talk about cringy. Listen, I love you, Mom. But when she says the word peeps.
I still say peeps.
Oh, God. That was super popular when we were like 12 when AOL was a thing.
I say peeps every once in a while. And then, no, but your mom always says slick.
That's her old school
that's
word.
her old school word. I know
Slick,
that.
Yeah.
What else is there? I was teasing the kids on Halloween because they were saying crap like skibbity and whatever. And I was like, yeah, you're so skibbity toilet. And he responded back and I was like, cap. And they just looked at me like, did that just come out of your mouth, Mom?
Yeah,
because I used it appropriately.
Right.
And they were like, what?
I don't even know how to use it. Well, Keith came up with one for the kids and he uses it all the time. And now my kids start saying it to each other. Slappity cappity.
Slappity cappity.
I don't even know what it means or when, like how to use it in the right context. My daughter, my middle schooler, has to do a project. She's in yearbook and TV production, and I'm not sure which class this is for, but she's got to make it's like either a music video or like a small short film or something. And she's doing it. Her partner is this boy, and of course I keep teasing her that it's her boyfriend. And she just like it's very over dramatized the way that she's like, with her hands. And I'm like, oh my God, she's so crushing on him. I'm sorry. We're going to go old school with this one. She's sweating him.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, he thinks you're cute. She's like, he's so mean to me. I'm like laughing.
Oh boy.
Okay. He likes you. Okay. He's joking with you. She knows it. She just doesn't want to talk to me about it because she's embarrassed. Anyways, I said, you know what you need to do is do a music video and have Dad write you a song called Slappity Cappity. And then you guys can perform in lip sync in the music video to this song called Slappity Cappity. And then you can all the kids at school will start singing it. And Slappity Cappity will be like in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, it'll become a thing.
It'll go viral. And it all stemmed here, folks. You heard it first.
Did she think you were a total loser for saying that?
No, she's like, it's a good idea, but Dad doesn't have a lot of time. And I'm like, no, you're right about that.
You're right. Back to reality we come.
Yeah, but it would be pretty funny.
I really was stupidly hopeful that my kids had somehow escaped the goofy words that are now, with all the middle schoolers, all the skibbity and whatever. And I was like, oh, my kids don't do that. My kids don't do that. They're not going to do that. And then it really started with bruh. Mm-hmm. Bruh took off, and that was like the only thing I ever heard out of their mouths, bruh, for everything.
They still do it.
And it's nonstop. And to the point, I say it all the time now, too, whatever. It's like the new dude.
Yep.
I used to say dude I still say dude all the
time.
So
do I.
But no, I think it's honestly just the social media aspect. It's, my kids play video games with their friends, and I think they just all rubbed off on each other, and now they're starting to say these dumbass words, and I'm like, you don't make any sense. Stop it. It makes you sound so unintelligent. And I'm like, and I know you're just like, Mom, you're lame. You don't care about my opinion about it. But now I'm like, well, how did my parents feel? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, what were we? We would say fat. I remember fat, cool with Kewl.
He's fine.
Fine. What else was there? We're showing our age, but like
sweating him,
yeah. I guess. Well, I always said crush, but sweating, I feel like was even older. Crushing on him. I gotta now I feel like I gotta look it up. There's a new word. It starts with an M. It's like a romantic term. It's gross. So you know what your kids are saying. Oh yeah, my daughter's been saying gyat.
Oh yeah.
Talking about my gyat. I'm like, you wish you had one.
I don't even know what that is, but my kids say it all the time.
It's a big booty.
Oh God.
Uh-huh. Of course, my son says mid. He says cap and no cap.
My daughter's been saying mid since before her accident a year and a half ago. she would like I even say it now. We were practicing volleyball in the backyard the other day, and I was teaching her how to serve. I don't know how to serve. I just have seen volleyball and played it like maybe twice in middle school PE. So I'm teaching her my extensive knowledge on volleyball, and we would rate each other's serve, and we'd be like, "Oh, that was mid plus, mid minus." Oh, as if all that in a bag of chips
from our days. Okay.
I asked Chad, as if. All that in a bag of chips.
Of course.
Do you remember the whole like loser, moron? Oh my God, whatever.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Talk to the hand. Booyah.
Oh, yes.
Whatever. Okay. Scrub.
Oh, yes.
Da bomb. Fat. Home skillet.
I still say da bomb.
Yeah. Get jiggy. My bad. Still say that. Word. Still say that. Not. It was so stupid. Let's bounce. I say that with the kids sometimes, and they're like, "You're so weird." What's up? Or sup?
What's up?
Yeah.
Tell me how old you are.
Fly.
Without telling me how old you are.
Oh,
Fly.
snap. I say, oh, snap.
I say it all the time.
You go, girl.
Ew.
And no duh. No doy. You remember that?
Uh-huh.
No doy.
Doy. My dad used to make so much fun of me for saying that. He would copy me every time I said it.
My daughter was crying. She's 9. And she was like upset about something the other day. I don't remember what it was. And she's like just not sobbing, but just like sad, in bed. I don't even know what it was. And my husband found a string on the floor and he brought it up, and we always like try to get our kids out of their crying or they're upset with humor. So he comes up, he's like, "Here, I got you this really amazing string." And she's like, "Huh?" And it was tied together in like a loop. It was a big string, like yarn tied together in a loop. And my 13-year-old was probably crocheting something, and that's where it came from.
Yeah.
God only knows in our house where things come from. But I said, "Oh, I have never taught you cat's cradle."
Oh yeah, I did that with my daughter. It's so fun.
I
I
know.
got her the book. The same book that I had as a kid still exists. That comes with the string and has like all of them in it.
I
Super
couldn't
cheap.
remember how to get it started.
Oh.
But once we got it started, I was like, "Oh," and then you pinch here and you go underneath, and then you put your pinkies, and then you go.
And they're
under-
looking at you like, "What is this, witchcraft? What are you doing?"
I know. And then she's like, "What's the point of this?" And I'm like, "Absolutely nothing." I said, "Listen, we didn't have cell phones when I was a kid. Sometimes I would do cat's cradle by myself, and I'd put them on my toes and then do it." And then have it on my fingers, and then put it, if you have to be real gentle and put it on your toes. Like I would put it on her hands so that I could make the next move and teach her.
Right.
And I'd hold it, and I said, "Okay, now you hold your hands like this, and let me put it on your hands,
Yeah.
and then I'll teach you the next one." And I was like, I used to do that to my toes.
Yeah, you work all the way up to like you did like the witch's broom, the owl eyes, the Jacob's ladder was like the really hard one. You didn't get all the way to that one. Yeah, no, that's so much fun. I still like doing it. I think it's fun.
And she and I, my 9-year-old and I, have a special handshake kind of thing. It's like a Miss Mary Mac that we do every night. Oh my gosh, she wants it every night. And every probably week or so, she wants to add something to it.
Yes.
It takes forever now.
This is why I don't do those things with my daughter, because it becomes a ritual. And then she adds same thing. She'll start adding stuff to it. And I'm like, no, what we're already doing is enough. No.
Yeah. And my thing is, if we mess up, we just keep going, pick it up, and just keep going. She wants to start all the way over. And sometimes I'm so exhausted, I'll literally just be like flopping my hands.
Get this over with.
Yeah.
Oh, so my daughter on Halloween thought she was funny because she was like showing off in front of friends, and they're like up ahead of the group, and she was just yelled out something. I don't know what the subject was, but she yelled out the word gay. And she was like, blah, 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 that's gay.
Oh, no.
And I was like, excuse me, what did you just say? And I get real closer, and I was like, I whispered down, like, what did you just say? She goes, gay? She has no idea, and I'm like, really shouldn't say that, especially like blurting it out loud the way that you did. I'm like, you're not using it correctly.
Not in the right context.
Like, don't do that.
Well, it's a life lesson.
Yeah. Because I was just kind of like, looking around like,
my gosh.
Oh shit, don't embarrass me, child, please.
They do that. When my 11-year-old was a baby, She was obsessed with people. She would compliment people. She's probably 2, would compliment people on probably like their deepest insecurities.
Didn't you tell me stories about how she
Oh, yeah.
would like rub people's bellies and like compliment their bellies?
Oh, yeah.
And
Well, we had our pediatrician and he had like, he was balding on the top, like Dr. Phil hair.
mm-hmm.
You know, it was just around.
I think I know
like,
who you're talking about.
the ears.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, I love your hair.
She's so cute.
She was so cute. Like, genuinely,
Uh-huh.
I love it.
Uh-huh.
He's like, oh, wow, thank you. And then we went to another place that was maybe a dentist or something. And the guy had like a big, bulbous, chunky, almost red nose.
Mm-hmm.
With huge pores and divots in his nose. I love your nose.
Oh, no.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And here's one more that I will never forget. And that about I wanted to just vaporize in that moment. We were at Walmart and she's in the cart. And
She said she's 2?
about 2-ish. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
2.5, 3, something around that time. Where they're just getting vocal enough to embarrass the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
And this guy walks around the corner and he must have been very overweight at one point and had lost a bunch of weight. And she goes, oh my God, you look awesome. You look like you're melting. I know. I know. I just wanted to crawl in a hole. If I could have just vaporized right then and there.
Did you just grab her,
I was
like turn the other way?
I was like, oh my God. Okay. I'm like, okay, let's just keep going. Run. Because he obviously had worked so hard.
Yeah, and all that loose skin. It
I
does
know.
look like they're melting. It
I
does.
know, but
she's not wrong.
no, she's not. But
Oh my gosh.
God, I was so embarrassed. Like, don't point that out. What are you doing? Oh, it was horrible.
Did that person say anything or react in
No,
any way?
he just was like, kind of had his head held, or like hung his head a little, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like running.
so cute and yet so awful.
Yeah, she was really, really sweet. So funny.
Does she know these stories?
I
Did she
don't
ever
know.
tell her?
Probably. I need to tell her again.
Has she done anything like that since she was a toddler?
No, she's been very quiet. She's my quietest kid.
That's so funny.
She doesn't, she doesn't talk like
I wonder
much.
if she's still like inside, like in her mind, she admires people's flaws.
Maybe.
I know.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I know.
Like, what a great gift to have. I mean,
Right.
you just don't say it that way. But to be a kind of person that just saw such beauty in what we, in our American
Right.
culture, consider flaws
Right.
would be so cool.
That's a really good story. I never heard that one.
Like saying it to him.
What? You saw my reaction. I wish
know.
other people could see my reaction when you said that.
Like, you were so surprised. You were silent, hand over mouth.
My face probably just was massive because my mouth's wide open.
My mom said I told somebody that she had a really big butt when I was like 4. My mom, look, she's got a really big butt.
Yeah.
The lady was right there. And my mom said, she was like, it's okay. She's just telling the truth. That's the thing about kids, is they tell the truth. And it's such a beautiful, innocent, sweet thing.
I was trying to think if mine ever did anything like that. I'm sure that they did. I just have a terrible memory.
Yeah.
Today we are speaking with Lindsay Gottschall. Lindsay is a family photographer on the east coast of Florida, a mother of a 5-year-old little girl, and a stage 4 appendiceal cancer survivor. Welcome, Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to speak with you. So I am originally from New York City. I moved to Miami about 15 years ago. I was in marketing for a long time. And in July of 2020, when it was like the height of COVID and, no one was leaving their house, it was lockdown, I had a pain in my stomach for about 36 hours. And I was like, as one does, you go on Google and you try and, be your own doctor and figure out what's going on. And I
Sure.
thought maybe I have like appendicitis or something. I think I have to go to the hospital.
Where was the pain and like what like location? Where was it?
My like the bottom right part of my stomach.
Okay, so
And so
typical appendicitis, like,
yes,
Dr. Google probably diagnosed you.
exactly. And
For sure.
diagnosed me correctly, basically. So if your bottom right stomach hurts, know that it's your appendix.
Right.
Well, most of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Not always, sorry. So I went to the hospital. I was in the waiting room basically for like 16 hours because it was like everyone was in hazmat suits
Oh my
and it was
gosh.
overpacked and terrifying. I was like, I'm literally going to die of, COVID right now. Cool. They finally took me in and they saw that I had a large tumor in my appendix. They're
Mm.
like, okay, you have to have surgery. Let's remove this and figure out what's going on. Overnight, before I had the surgery, my appendix burst in the middle of the night, which was
Ugh.
extremely painful. And then had the surgery the next morning, and they had found out that it had spread kind of all over at that point.
How did they find that out? Just seeing it?
Yeah, I guess. They saw that it was on fallopian. So they also removed a fallopian tube at that point as well. And then they said with everything else, we're just going to kind of leave the rest of the tumors that we see there because we want to probably do chemo to see if we can shrink them before, removing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I then did 3 months of chemo, and then they decided that the chemo wasn't working. It wasn't shrinking the tumors, but they weren't growing. So that was like, okay, but I can't be on chemo for the rest of my life. So they
Right.
decided I was going to have a major surgery. I flew to Sloan Kettering in New York for that, had a 12-hour surgery where they ended up removing most of my organs, basically, because they found out that it had kind of spread all over.
Oh my God.
I was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. I had tons of complications. And then after that, I had to do 3 more months of chemo as like preventative for anything microscopic that they couldn't cut out.
Jeez.
It was
So,
really intense.
what side effects did you deal with, and what like medical complexities post surgery did you have going on?
So I literally couldn't get out of bed for the first 2 weeks. I couldn't. They cut me open from like the top of my breastplate, basically like up here, all the way down
Oh my
to
gosh.
my pelvic bone. Yeah. So my entire insides. They had to like open my ribs. So my ribs were super. Yeah, it was very painful.
Ow.
At one point in the hospital, my lungs filled with water, so they had to drain my lungs. Anytime I also have since now figured this out, but I guess I'm kind of allergic to oh my gosh, what's it? Morphine. So they
Okay.
were giving me morphine, like an epidural for the pain and whatnot, and it was making me every time I would stand up, I would like throw up and pass out.
Huh.
So after like day 5, they took the morphine out, and I was in more pain, but I was able to remain conscious. So that was
Well, that's your
so
silver lining.
helpful.
So what
Jeez.
did they give you instead of the morphine once they figured that out?
Some I don't know other heavy narcotics,
Yeah.
Right.
orally at least, and not through the epidural. So, but since then, I've had 11 surgeries in the last 4 years. I've done 3 different sections of chemo because every time I'm in remission, as one would say, I'm in remission for a few months or a year or something like that, and then they find another tumor. So I like to not really say that I'm in remission anymore because with my cancer, unfortunately, it is known to come back time and
Mm.
time again. There's no cure for it. It is one of the most rare cancers in the world. It's 1 in a million. And I happen to
That is
have the
wild.
rarest kind of the rare cancer, where only 10% of those people, it's called goblet cell. They don't know how to treat it because nobody has it.
Oh my
Wow. Did they
God.
give you any kind of like a prognosis, a survival rate or anything when they originally diagnosed you?
So of course that was, one of my first things as well. And they're like, well, most of the people that get this are like, older.
Okay.
So we don't really know. You're young. I was 35 when I was diagnosed. So they're like, you can probably tolerate these surgeries and the chemo better.
Mhm.
We have no idea at this point kind of because not enough people have had this type of cancer, there's no research on it really. So they don't have numbers. So like we literally can't say anything, which
Oh,
was like good and bad, because sometimes it's like when you get sick, you're like, oh, I just want to know, like, is it a flu or is it COVID? So I know how to treat it or something. But when someone's like, hi, we don't know how to treat your cancer. We don't know what to do with you. We don't know how long you have. You're kind of left in this like limbo.
So are they just like throwing different chemos at you, or is there any rhyme or reason to their treatment plan?
For the most part, yeah, they were kind of like there was a designated like first thing that we try, and if that doesn't work, then maybe we'll try the second thing, and then if that doesn't work, we don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
I recently started seeing a doctor at MD Anderson in Texas who's like leading the research in appendiceal cancer. And he said that immunotherapy has basically just been approved in the last few months, and that's has promising results. So when if it comes back again type of thing, that's what we would try next.
so if you've had your appendix removed, which I imagine they took it out,
Yeah.
the recurrence of the cancer that's known to come back, is it just in random spots?
So, okay, so all of our organs, for the most part, in our stomachs are in something called the peritoneum.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard that word before. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it basically is like the stomach sac.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of your organs are inside of it. Once one of those organs has a tumor, it can touch the peritoneum. And if it touches the peritoneum, then it can spread throughout the peritoneum and then touch any organ that's also inside of it. So that's basically what happened to me is it was on my appendix, went to my fallopian tube, touched the peritoneum, and then started touching all the other organs within the peritoneum.
Right.
And so that's why it's so tough because it's like, okay, it's not just attacking one organ, handle that organ, you're done. Now it is literally basically everything within that. Like they removed my fallopian tubes, my ovaries, my uterus, my spleen, part of my colon twice. I've had half of my bladder removed twice. Um, I'm like, is that it? There might be more.
Yeah. Oh my
Gosh.
God.
Yeah.
That's like your entire GI tract.
Yes. So my stomach hurts like every other day, basically. Eating fatty foods is tough. It's funny enough, I had my gallbladder removed 3 weeks after I gave birth, like totally unrelated. So I don't have a gallbladder. They probably would have removed that anyway. And so just with that one thing, it's hard. But
Right.
I've had 2 hernias now after surgeries because it's like 1 in every 10 surgery can have a hernia from that. And so I've had 2 of them now, and I've had to have one hernia fixed already 2 years ago, and I currently have a second one right now that I'm going to have surgery again within the next 3 to 6 months to fix because
Wow.
like I just started working out and moving my stomach is really hard. Sometimes going to the bathroom is very difficult. I feel nauseous. Certain foods hurt me. Even though I'm about a year out almost from my last surgery, my stomach is swollen and the scar tissue. I don't want to say I'm deformed, but I'm very lumpy in places that I wasn't lumpy before.
Sure.
And no amount of exercise will fix that. So even after all of everything that I've gone through is kind of done and over with, I'm still dealing with those effects basically for the rest of my life.
And not just physical, I'm sure mental as well.
Oh yeah, I know you mentioned I have a 5-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She was 10 months at the time of my diagnosis. It was easy in the sense of back then she was so young. Obviously, she had no idea what was going on. We had to move into my parents' house, who live a few miles down the road, so they could help take care of her because when I was doing chemo and surgeries, I was useless.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband was great, but he was working, of course. It was during COVID and I wasn't able to work. So having all those adults kind of around to help me and take care of her and help literally raise her, especially in the beginning, was everything. But as she's gotten older now, she understands. She's 5. When I got sick really badly again last September, she saw everything that I was going through and she understood it. It's the saddest thing ever watching your child be sick or watching your child watch you be sick.
Sure.
It hurts them. So every time I saw her hurting, it hurt me too. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I was bored. I was sick. I felt awful. I lost my hair twice. I'm a very, very strong individual. I'm very lucky that I have an extremely good head on my shoulders and I was able to kind of not let it consume me. I know I don't want to say most, many people do, but I'm a warrior is what I like to tell myself.
Yeah, you
And
are.
thank you. And yeah, it's tough. I would never wish this upon my worst enemy type of thing.
So your daughter is basically like, I hate to say it this way, but like a way of life because she hasn't really known a whole lot different with you. I mean,
Yeah,
seeing her mom go back and forth to the hospital or back and forth to doctor's appointments, it's to her, it's probably normal.
it is. And I wanted to have a second child. They removed my ovaries, and so I'm unable to. And she constantly asks me for a sibling.
Oh,
And it destroys me every single time. And I say to her, I'm sorry. I wish I could give that to you. And she goes, I know it's because of your boo boo, mommy. Because we tell her that mommy has a boo boo in her belly.
Aw.
And so she understands, she's grasping it more and more as she gets older. But last September, when I got sick again, I had to fly to New York for one of my surgeries. And I remember I was laying in bed with her the night before I was leaving. And we were kind of cuddling, and I was asking her how she was doing, how she was feeling. I was always trying to like kind of check in with her, be like, are you okay? Like, mommy's doing okay. Or mommy's doing this for you. Like, know that. And she started crying. She started tears coming down her face, kind of this silent cry. And she just goes, Mommy, I'm just so afraid you're not going to come back.
oh,
Ugh.
And that literally, like, my heart crumpled.
I'm
I
sure.
didn't,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know what to say because in so many ways, like, I wasn't even sure I was going to. You have such a risk with these 10, 12-hour surgeries. I didn't know what they were going to find when they opened me up again for, the ninth time at that point. And I was like, I have to tell her, like, I'm going to be okay. I am coming back. Like, don't worry. Don't be afraid. And ever since that, like, that was one of those moments I will never forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
Understandably.
yeah. But like all of this has made her a better person. And I know that's like crazy to say, but she's so empathetic. Her ballet teacher told me a couple of days ago, was like, I know I shouldn't say this, but like she's my favorite. And
Aw.
she's so kind. And I said, one day I was teaching class and I was like, guys, it's gonna be a slower class because I have a headache. And she like got up and came over and gave me a hug.
Aw.
And was like, are you okay? Can I do anything for you? And I was like, oh my God, this poor kid. Like, this is what
Oh.
she knows. This is what she sees. And it's made her this beautiful person. I just feel so bad that she's had to become that person at such a young age and doesn't really understand it.
Yeah.
And how was your support system when you were diagnosed? And I know you had you moved in with your parents to help with your child, and your husband was working, but did you have other support outside of your family?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so blessed. Like, truly. My sister and her husband live down here, and we're incredibly, incredibly close. And I have tons of family and friends around, and everyone was like, what can we do? How can we help? And sending meals and taking Olivia to dance classes and play dates and things. I'm very lucky. I never once felt alone.
That's
And
good.
I know not everyone can be so lucky in these situations. So without everyone, I would not have been able to do this. Truly.
That's amazing.
I'm really happy that you had that support.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
it doesn't happen for a lot of people. And
No.
that's
No.
so, like, what do you even do? What do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, and you're
And
you're given a diagnosis that is potentially fatal,
Right.
and to be alone with your thoughts is a very scary place to be.
yeah.
So can you kind of backtrack a little bit and maybe discuss a little about like what was going through your mind at the moment of when they told you your diagnosis?
It's hard because every what is it, like the 5 stages of grief or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course I was like, no way. Like, how is this happening to me? That's not even possible. Like, I'm healthy, I'm young. Like, I'm not 90. Like, why is this happening? And then I, of course, got angry and scared, and I never let the anger and the fear really consume me until I got sick again last September. Because in the first few years was very much of like, I got this. This is no problem. I'll do the chemo. I'll lose my hair. I don't care. I'll have surgeries. I'll bounce back. This is not forever. Like, this too shall pass. It's fine. And then when I got sick again last September, it was kind of like, wow, like, this is not going away. Like, the chemo is not working. These surgeries are not helping. I can't have tumors come out of me every 6 months. Like at what point is my body just going to kind of give up? Like, my mind is still strong, but how do I convince my body to keep doing this?
Right.
So I had some time where I was a bit distraught, I would say. I was never consumed by it. I was never depressed, but I would definitely be sitting in my room having the chemo running through my body and being like, is this it? Chemo is tough.
Yeah. It's toxic.
It's literally poisoning you.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, I'm not going to die from cancer. I'm going to die from the chemo.
Right.
Like, the first round that I did this time, I couldn't open my eyes for 5 days because I was so sick. I literally, if I opened my eyes, I would start dry heaving, not even throwing up, because I couldn't eat. I didn't eat for 5 days. I couldn't move. I couldn't function. And so when you're kind of in the middle of that, yeah, your mind will go to dark places.
Mhm.
But then Olivia would come home from school and come into the room and give me a big hug and say, Mommy, can I get you water? Can I hug you? Can I talk to you? Can I tell you about my day? And then everything would switch.
Yep.
Like, my mind all of a sudden would be like, oh my God, yes, this is not forever. I'm going to be okay. Keep fighting for her,
Right.
her. It doesn't matter anything, anyone, whatever is happening. I cannot leave this little girl.
Yeah. You're not just fighting and living for yourself. You've got to fight to live for her and for your family, for your husband.
My parents would go berserk, of course. Like, my husband, how could he function without me? And we're a team. I love my husband. We've been together 15 years today.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
That's so cute.
What I've come to realize over these few years is that cancer is just not about you.
No.
It's about everyone else. They're going through it too. And the first few years, I didn't really understand that. It was very much like my fight, my battle. And then, I started seeing a therapist, and she very much was like, well, imagine what they're going through. And now, like, as a mother, I'm like, oh my God, of course my mom is, beside herself. If God forbid this happened to my child, what would I be like? So it's tough, but like, you have to remain strong. You can't let the bad days win. That's become my favorite quote, because we're all fighting our own battles. We all have our own shit to deal with, and you can't let them win. You just have to get through it.
And how did it go when you told your husband? How has he been through this?
He's been amazing. He's been my rock. I could not have done this without him. The first year that I was battling it was very different than this last year. In the beginning, he kind of had like these blinders on where he's like, okay, we're getting this done. I'm going to take care of Olivia, and I'm going to cook dinner. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to do this. And I don't want to say like he forgot about me, but like, he was so busy taking care of everything else that was his focus. And it was a little difficult for me, because I was like, sometimes I just need you to be like, hey, do you need a hug?
Right.
Like, you good? Like, I know I'm going to take out the garbage and walk the dog and make dinner and all these things, but you good? That was something that we kind of had to work through. And I told him how I was feeling, of like, I need you to, yes, thank you for doing all of these things, but I also need you to like be my friend,
Yeah, you needed him emotionally.
Right, right. I was like, I appreciate everything you do, of course.
Mhm.
But like, when all of my friends and family members are constantly texting, how are you? What's going on? Can I? And then I don't want to say my own husband wasn't doing that, but like it was the acts of service type of love language.
Mhm.
It has gotten much better. Like we kind of talked about it. And I couldn't find the words at the time to tell him that because
Mhm.
couldn't really comprehend it, I guess, until later on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I kind of had that like year break in between the bouts of cancer, I figured it out, talked to him, and then this time around he was like perfect. So
I'm sure it was his way of, he's trying to compartmentalize and do anything he can in a way that he can control.
right.
He can
Absolutely.
do the laundry, he can do the dishes, he can do the dinners, he can take the dog out. He has full control over every single one of those things, where anything that has to do with you and your cancer, it's so out of control and he
Mhm.
can't fix it. And I'm sure that that had something to do with it, because I feel like that would be me as a spouse. I'd be like, what can I do to control anything in this
No,
moment?
perfectly said. Exactly. Everyone feels like they want to help in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what to do for you. How do I make this better? So his way was to take care of the house.
Which is a full-time job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys get it. I know.
Uh-huh.
um,
I don't do my full-time job in that way like I should. I slack on that. That's part-time for me.
does anyone really though? Does anyone?
They pretend they
Especially us
do.
being, like serial business starters.
Exactly. We talked about that in our pre-interview, serial
Yeah.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there were times where he would lay in bed with me, of course, and had his moments of like, please don't leave me. I can't do this without you.
No,
Um,
that's so heartbreaking.
it is. I feel so guilty. And like, that's something that I'm trying to work through is how much crap I've put other people through. And like, obviously, I know it's not my fault. Like,
Yeah, it's those the
I just
words that
feel
were going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I feel bad.
I
And
know, but it isn't
that's a
your, like, you
that's
didn't
a
ask
part,
for any of
right?
this.
That's a part of the emotional process. I mean, that comes up with pretty much every interview we do. There's
Yeah.
always guilt, whether it's the child going through something, whether it's the mom going through something. It comes up all the time, and
Yeah, humans love to find a way
we
to
are
feel guilty
we
about
are yeah,
anything.
we are
Why are we like
human.
I don't know.
that?
Maybe
Ugh.
because we're not sociopaths.
Oh, okay. I like that. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
that's
go.
it. That's
I mean, I guess I kind of feel like if you're not experiencing some level of guilt when you go through something like this, then maybe there might be something wrong with you.
right. That's why I said we're not sociopaths, which is
Yeah,
why we
Right,
feel
we're
guilty.
human beings,
right. We
and that's
deep
okay.
down we are good and we care about others, or
Yeah.
most
Right.
people at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that you're a photographer, and I love that because I'm a photographer too. So how did this affect your ability to work, and did you have, a lot of setbacks and support from your clients?
So I wasn't a photographer when I first got started. It was something that I did kind of for fun on the side. Always like wanted to do it, but never did it seriously. I was an actor, singer, dancer in New York. I broke my foot in half the week before my first off-Broadway show opened, and
Hmm.
it ruined my career and was like, you know what, screw this. Like I'm going to go retire and live on a beach in Miami. And so when I came down here, I did marketing for about 10 years just to kind of still work with that creative outlet. And then when I got sick, I was like, chemo brain is real.
Hmm.
Like the fog is real. I was losing a lot of memories. I was losing a lot of moments, especially with Olivia, because I was sick and unable to kind of be there for certain things. And I was like, how can I kind of hold on to these fleeting moments? Okay, I can photograph them, keep those forever. I bought myself a camera. I went to YouTube and I figured it out. And then I hired myself a mentor once I was kind of a bit stronger and able to move around. And I created a business. And it was like one of those things where I'm like, if I make it through this, then, I'm going to do what I always wanted and become a family photographer and help people capture their love and travel the world and make pretty things. And I did it.
That's
And
awesome.
now, thank you, now I have a thriving business. And it's tough because like every time I get sick again, and then have to do chemo. I've had to do this twice now, unfortunately. I have to like say, hey, everyone that's booked with me over the next 3 to 6 months, gotta cancel and refund you, unless you want to put your shoot off for 3 to 6 months,
Right.
potentially forever. I don't know.
Do you, just from a business standpoint, I'm thinking of these things as also being a photographer myself. Do you present your cancer as part of your diagnosis, like as far as like your branding is or your marketing is, like that's, that people kind of go into it in booking you knowing that this woman is a cancer survivor, like something could come up?
Yeah, so yes and no. I
Okay.
I thought about that. Like for a long time I was like, do I kind of like make that my thing? Like, hey, get photographed by the cancer chick.
Right.
Or do I kind of like, no, like that's something that just happened to me. I'm not doing it right now, so like let's not even think about that or worry.
Right.
I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I don't want to be known as the
Right.
cancer photographer, you
Right.
know?
So I grapple with that myself because for so long I kind of had this identity as I'm a cancer mom, right?
Mhm.
And in my my business, like I do have my little bio page. I have something on there that's like I'm a mom of a cancer survivor.
Mhm.
But if the script was flipped and it was me, I'm just kind of thinking right now, like how would that change things in the way that I present myself and the way I go about my business? Because anything could happen at any time where you have to pause business and take care of yourself. And I also at the same time, I don't want it to be my identity. I wouldn't want it to be my identity.
Right.
So I wouldn't be wanting personally, I would not want to advertise myself as the cancer survivor photographer, unless I was purposely niching to like the cancer survivor market. Like if you were
Right.
known for photographing other survivors and things like that, because there are photographers out there that do that. I know plenty of like breast cancer survivors that do boudoir for, women who get, corrective surgery and,
Right.
they want to celebrate surviving and they do shoots like that for themselves. So I know I'm kind of rabbit trailing a little bit here, but I'm just literally thinking out loud from a business standpoint of how that would change things.
Right. No, it's like it's a fine line because
Hmm.
exactly I don't want that to be my identity, but I also like it is also a part of me, especially a few months ago when I didn't have any hair. And I was like, okay, well, people are gonna like show up to their shoot and be like, hey, what's going on with you or something. I have in my like Instagram profile, it says rare cancer survivor, appendiceal cancer survivor, because it is part of me. I don't want to hide it, but I'm not also like, hi, this is me with my cancer. I find that some people like asking me about it. Some people like, I don't want to say like getting photographed by me because of that, but a lot of people connect with it.
Hmm.
And so I think, sometimes people will see my story and maybe potentially get moved by it or like, hey, my brother had cancer and like it's so cool and we can kind of talk about this and connect about this. And I think it makes me seem more human to them. I did worry for a while that like, are people going to see that and be like, I don't want to book with her? Like, what happens if she gets sick again? And then maybe people aren't. That's definitely something I've talked a lot about with my family of like, do I try and hide this? But because unfortunately I have had to cancel on clients twice in the last 3 years, I don't want that to potentially be a shock to them.
No, I mean, I think that your like welcome email, like thank you for reaching out for a quote. I don't know how you guys word it in your business. A little bit about me and, a clause in your contract, just having
Yeah.
it out there that in the event of X, Y, and Z, your deposit will be fully refunded, blah, 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 or whatever. But just
Right.
to have it out there and let people know that they're not necessarily maybe booking you because you have cancer. There's probably people out there that are like, oh, that's cool. She's, a cancer survivor. Let's have her do our session. That's great. That's cool too. But they, probably like you because of your work,
Right. Right.
you know,
It's
and if they don't know and they only book you because of your work because their friend had a great experience with you or whatever, then, maybe a little, a welcome email to let them know a little bit about your situation with a little bit of information of if this happens again, here's what we'll do.
Right. It's a part of your story. It's not who you are.
Right.
Right. Right. Perfectly said. Like it's on my bio page, but it's not in my welcome email,
Mm-hmm.
like that type of thing. It's like it's there if they want to look into me, if they're curious about who I am, they can find that information. But if they literally just like look at my website and my photos, like, oh, I love her photos, let's book her, and they don't even see that at all, then cool. Like I'm
Right.
fine with either type of thing. I never want it to be a negative for anyone. In my
Right.
mind, I'm only hoping that it can be a positive of like, wow, this chick is cool. Like, look what she's gone through, and she's like still out here working and stuff. If something comes up someday, we'll deal with it then.
Right.
Like most of my clients, when I had to tell them that I was sick and either had to cancel or put them off, almost every single person was like, don't worry about it. Like
Mhm.
you do you. When
Right.
you're ready, we'll get to this. There were a few people that are like, these were for my Christmas cards. I'm so
Sure.
sorry. I love you. But that happened. That happened to quite a few people last year. And when I got sick in September, they were like, okay, we booked with you last year. We can't this year now because you're sick, but we're going to come back next year. And in the last like 3 weeks, I've shot like 4 people that waited for me basically.
Oh, that's
That's
wonderful.
great.
That's really good to hear that.
Yeah. So people are kind about it,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice.
I feel like if you're not
Restores your
kind, you're
faith.
kind of a dick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If you're going to be mean about it, like,
Especially
My
if somebody has
photographer friend
cancer.
asked me, she's like, are people assholes right now? Are they being like, give me my money back, cancer girl, bye? And I'm
yeah,
like, no,
no,
thank God. No
no.
one has been like
I feel the
that.
majority of the time people are kind,
Yes.
in life for the most part. Face to face, people are generally kind.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like I definitely like with my whole journey, I realized who was like that good friend and who was like, oh, okay, you're a fair weather friend is what they call her or something.
Was it surprising the people who kind of dropped off or the people who stood up?
There weren't a lot of surprises. A lot of them were like, I can see this about you. It's not surprising. But then there
Yeah.
were quite a few people that like really stepped up their game. And I was like, oh wow, I was not expecting that from you. A
Did
lot
it
of
stay?
people
Like, did they stay for
some yes, some
so
no.
at the beginning of anything, there's like a million people that come out of the woodwork and like support and
Mhm.
are so nice. And then out of nowhere, they're just like gone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, I checked in with you a lot the
Uh-huh.
first month. I sent you a meal, and then I haven't spoken to you in 2 months. I'm
Right.
like, okay, from like 60 to 0, like that definitely happened to a few people
Mm-hmm.
for sure. But I will say overall, like most people were really genuine and really kind and treated me exceptionally well. Like I'm very lucky. I was like room mom at my daughter's school last year. And so like all the teachers and all of the other moms and everyone basically was like, let's take Olivia. We'll take her for play dates. We'll take her for ice cream. We'll do what we can for you. Everyone was just very, very helpful. And there was some times I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't need any more help. I felt bad saying no to them, but it was actually almost too many people offering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is really good.
Yeah. So what you said, keep referring back to when you got sick last September. When you say that you got sick, like what happens? What's your signs that something's not right, and then you have to seek medical help?
So I get CAT scans every 3 months.
Okay.
Which is also a problem unto itself because, okay, maybe now the cancer is not going to kill me, but all this radiation will at some point. I have like 5 to 8 CAT scans a year. And that's a lot
It
because
is.
I've
Yeah.
had so many complications over the years where I've had to go back into the hospital for little things here and there. And I've had so many other random surgeries and stuff. So I keep having to have CAT scans. Like December or something like that, I had some pain in my stomach and was going to the bathroom nonstop for 3 days. And I was like, okay, like something's going on. Went to the hospital and they're like, oh, okay, you have colitis. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that is. Inflammation of the colon. Oh, and actually, we also see another tumor. Maybe that's a tumor. Could be benign. We're not sure. Oh, actually, no, this was in June. This was like 4 or 5 months ago. I'm crazy. But yeah, so like, okay, well, now we need to do another CAT scan. I wasn't scheduled for one. Okay, so now we're doing a biopsy. And okay, this one came back negative. So it's like every 3 to 6 months, it's something is happening. So in February of 2023, I had one of my routine CAT scans. They found a tumor in my abdomen, had surgery to remove it, did 3 months of chemo, was back in remission, if you want to call it that. So summer of 2023, I was good. I was fine. September, I had my next CAT scan. Okay, well, now they found a tumor on my bladder. Okay, so now I had to have another large surgery to remove that. And this was more complicated because it was on my bladder. They had to remove half of my bladder. Just so you know, the bladder is a very resilient organ. It bounces back. So, like the first few weeks, I had to pee a lot. But then after that, like now I'm totally fine.
Yeah, I was going to ask how often are you peeing? But if the bladder stretches, I only know bladder stretch because after having 4 kids, I can go all day without peeing. It's not good for me. I know this.
Oh my
Everybody, I
God.
get
Yeah.
it. But I can still
I
do
was
it.
like that growing up. My mom always used to yell at me. She's like, go to the
I
bathroom.
know. I know.
No.
I do the pee pee dance and I'm like, just go. I'm so like lazy / really busy.
Right,
So
exactly. Finding the time, especially with 4
yeah.
kids, it's like when?
Yeah.
So that was me getting sick again last September is when they found the one on my bladder. We thought it was going to be pretty routine, go in, have the surgery this time to remove the tumor part of the bladder. When they got in there, they found that it had spread all over the peritoneum again, to my colon, and to some lymph nodes, which was really bad and really scary. So they had to remove multiple things, ended up being like a 10-hour surgery again when we thought it was only going to be an hour or two. So I was in the hospital again last September or October for 15 days. And then like, okay, well, this was intense. You had a lot of tumors. We have to do chemo again. So that's what I mean by like, I got sick again, had to do another stint of chemo. This time they hit me harder than ever. That was when I was saying like, I couldn't open my eyes for the first 5 days. And the worst part about all of it is after that 10-hour surgery, I got an infection in the hospital. My wound didn't heal properly, which they say also happens like 1 in every 10 surgeries, you can get an infection. They literally had to like pop my wound in the hospital. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever experienced in my life. I
Oh
hope this
my
never happens to
God.
anybody. And then I had a hole into my stomach in my abdomen. Like it was I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like
get it.
showing
Like a
this,
sand dollar.
like, okay, yes, there we go.
Mhm.
And it was literally into my abdomen. And without getting too graphic, like it was open. There were, juices and
Right.
stuff. And we couldn't get it to close.
And well, you were not on chemo at the time because you just
They,
had the
they wouldn't
surgery.
have me start the chemo
Yeah.
because I had an open wound.
Right.
They're
And
like,
you have to
no.
heal.
And yeah. So they,
Yeah.
anytime I have a major surgery, they always say, okay, in 4 to 6 weeks, you'll start chemo once
Gotcha.
you heal. The wound wouldn't heal. And they can't just like sew you back up after they've popped an infection. They have to let it heal from the bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they just sew the top over, then you have this like open cavity underneath, and that could just refill up with the infection. So they literally just have to like pack it with gauze and stuff and let it heal on its own.
Oh my goodness.
3 months, didn't heal. We're like, okay, something is going on. I went to like 5 different doctors. Nobody could figure what was happening. I was seeing a wound specialist. I was in so much pain. It was so disgusting. We literally had to pack this wound twice a day.
What was your totally cancer related question, because I know from experience, what was your platelet count and like your ANC at that time?
Funny enough, it like high, I guess, but it wasn't crazy high. So nobody really thought that it was like still infected. I kept trying to tell them like something's happening, like there's goo, like this is infected, and nobody would take me seriously until I went to this one doctor at University of Miami, and she's like, you have a pocket of infection still underneath. That is why this wound will not close. That is why you have this goo. We need to bring you into surgery again. I'm going to open you back up. I'm sorry. And I'm going to clean it out properly this time. I cannot believe they didn't do it in your previous 2 surgeries.
Oh,
And
gosh.
she did. And once that happened, I then had to let it heal properly because she finally got the infection fully out. And I had that wound for 9 months overall.
It took that long for it to heal.
9 months. Yes. It finally closed in June from my first surgery being like October 6th.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and I couldn't swim. I couldn't I had to take showers with it covered. It was so bad. And my poor husband, I was like, I'm going to get you like a cute little nurse outfit because you just have to like keep fixing me twice a day for 9 months. Sorry. He hated it, obviously. So in 2023, I had 4 surgeries overall and the wound and 2 sessions of chemo. Yeah, so that's what I guess I mean by like getting sick again is the surgeries and the chemo.
And that was your last. That was the last thing that happened. And
yeah,
most recent, I
October
guess.
of last year.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
finished chemo this year, March.
Okay.
My hair was still falling out though for a couple of months. So by like May, June is when it started growing back.
Well, it looks great.
Thank you.
Your
It's
cute little
It's very
curls.
It's so dark. I used to be like way more blonde and so thick and so curly, which is like very different. So, but it's cute. It has like this like 1920s wave to
For
it.
sure. Absolutely.
I mean, thank you. I also hate it and miss my long, beautiful blonde mermaid hair, but
I know.
whatever.
I'm sure.
It'll grow back,
Yeah.
they say. So,
But maybe you'll have like this beautiful curly mane.
yeah, it used to be like very wavy, and now I'm thinking it's gonna be like super ringlets.
Yeah, but it's so pretty. And then you can kind of like fluff it so it's like that big 80s hair.
Oh yeah,
That's like really coming back. Not
I'm
like the
gonna be so stylish.
not like the dome of like where it's hard like a helmet. You know what I'm talking about? How they would do this, but that really beautiful like Mariah Carey in the 90s. That hair.
I can work with
Gorgeous.
that.
For
Thank
sure.
you. Okay, let's go with that.
So it's going to happen. I can feel
Sounds
it.
good to me. Yeah, I will say though, like summer in Florida, this is fabulous.
Oh, I
Oh,
bet. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So easy and so cool, and just I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. I can literally just be in the shower for 3 seconds, get out, and I'm ready to go.
That's awesome.
So that is nice. Only
So-
plus.
What's next for you going forward?
Living every day like it's my last. As cliche as that sounds, I am like packed to the brim with my social calendar. It is the busy season for photography, as you know. So I'm working like a mad woman. I am exhausted and I'm loving it. Like, this is when I thrive, when things are crazy, when it's, all these school events and volunteering and working out finally again for the first time in almost 6 years. And just being with friends and doing things that I basically spent the last 5 years not being able to do. I'm not taking anything for granted anymore. Every day is a blessing.
And you seem like you're pretty extroverted. So you thrive being busy.
I do. I really do. I hate being bored, which was another reason why like having cancer was so just like annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm busy. I'm too busy to have cancer. Like, I can't like be sitting in bed for a week. What am I doing? No. So
As a very busy person who likes to be busy and thrives in chaos, when I'm bored, I'm so lazy.
Oh my God, right?
I can get real lazy.
It's like one or the other, right? There's no in between.
Absolutely. If I like a Saturday morning, if I sit my ass on that couch and I turn the TV on when I first wake up before anybody else is awake, forget it. That is it for me. Good luck getting my ass peeled off that couch because I'm busy so much. I have so much going on.
That when you crash hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it happens maybe twice a year. I'll be on the couch watching TV all day. Like, I don't talk to anybody. I don't want to look at anybody.
And it's like trash TV too.
Totally.
It's like
Total trash
reality TV.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Put on Love is Blind and you're good.
I love that show.
It's the only reality show I watch.
Same.
The only one I will allow myself to watch, but I love it.
But it's such a good show. There's lots of sex, lots of drama,
I love it. I'm in.
all the good stuff.
Sold.
We can leave all this back, whatever.
Yeah,
out.
we don't listen. I'll figure it out. What we keep in,
make
what we
it make
don't.
it make sense.
Maybe
makes
it's
sense.
entertaining to some people. Maybe it's
Some
not.
people like these shows, Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie. God.
Yeah,
I still got The Office and Seinfeld and Parks and Rec on repeat every night.
I do that too. I have it on, and Schitt's Creek. I watch that show
Oh my God,
That's a
love
good
it.
one
all
too.
the time. Just that's always on in the background.
I
That's the
never
best
finished
one.
it. I never
I've watched the
finished it.
series like 3 times, start to finish,
Yeah, it's the best.
and now it's
I've
just on
literally
like
been-
random episodes.
I've watched Family Guy before bed every single night for over 21 years.
That's great.
What is wrong with me?
No.
And my husband loves it. Like, he does the same thing. Like, this is what we do. We can, like, quote everything verbatim. It's terrifying. Just Family Guy every night, 21 years.
I switch. I'll go for like I try to watch shows that I can fall asleep to.
Exactly.
At night. Something that it's not a big deal if I fall asleep. If I'm really in the middle of something, that's not the show I'm watching before bed.
Right.
Right.
Right. So Schitt's Creek is a good one, except the beginning and the ending, those horns are so fucking loud. And it wakes you up if you start like kind of nodding off. So that's annoying. Like the intro music, it's annoying. But I've watched The Office.
The Office music wakes me up every time.
Me too. The Office
when
music
it
is
changes
the worst.
episodes.
What?
I'm like,
she's never gotten into The Office.
I have seen Parks and Rec, though. I know you said
Parks and Rec is great. That's similar to The Office in the way that it's recorded.
Yeah.
The vibe is very similar.
Like that documentary style.
Yeah, it's like a mockumentary.
There you go.
I don't know if it's TMI, but I had an IUD for like 15 years before I got sick. I did, like, I guess I took it out, had my daughter, then put it back in. And what's funny is in some ways, I actually think that that's how I kind of found out that I was sick. Is I had my IUD put back in after my daughter, and it never really took properly. And I guess I don't know if it's because the cancer was in my fallopian tube where the IUD was, but I was in pain. So I went to my doctor and had him take it out. And then 4 days later is when everything happened.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if like removing the IUD then, caused the pain to flare, or like somehow is connected, because
maybe the pain was from the cancer and you attributed it to the IUD.
No, it's somehow connected somewhere. I'll never know.
Yeah.
But and I'm like, did the IUD cause it?
Right.
I don't know.
I had a friend of mine who she got breast cancer at 42. She had a hysterectomy, but then she had to go on hormone therapy because of her age to avoid menopause or something. And that just fed this breast cancer hardcore.
So they warned me. They're like, hey, if you want to do this, you can, but one of the side effects is breast cancer. I'm like,
yeah, no.
No,
I'd rather go through menopause.
Exactly. I'm like, I can handle night sweats and stuff. Like, whatever. Hot flashes, breast cancer.
There's an end in sight with that, and that's like, although it's not natural at your age and why you're going through menopause, but it's a natural progression of a female's body to go through menopause, as bad as it sucks.
Oh, your poor friend. That's awful.
I know. She's doing really good though. She did the chemo and lost her hair and everything, but her hair too came back totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible how it does that.
That happened to my son too. But the weird part about it is that after his regrowth, which was super cute, it was like this beachy wave, like light blonde, because he's a straight brown haired boy.
Ooh.
And it got really kind of out of control. And we got his first haircut. He was so handsome. And then it grew back out, eventually back to straight and brown. I was like, oh,
really?
Man. I was like, I kind of wanted this like dirty blonde, like shaggy wave hair to stay,
like
but
surfer hair.
It was so cute. When he was like 5 or 6 years old at the time. Now he's 11.
That's so fun. I didn't realize that it could like revert back to.
See, I had never heard of it going back. I've always known about like breast cancer survivors who have their hair completely change, and so I just didn't know what to expect. But it went right back. It's weird, right?
It is weird.
So I was like a ghost.
No, somebody's passing our window, and that's a dead end. So
I just saw like a figure go across the stream.
It is Halloween in a couple days, guys.
Right?
I know. It's true. But this is a dead end of the sidewalk ends right here. So why anybody's walking, I don't know.
Stop being a creep, bro.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm like, hope you don't get murdered. Yay.
We're in a commercial office space, so it's not like my house.
Okay.
It's just some random person walking by my window.
I feel a little better, honestly. I was a little nervous for you.
So this is this kind of related to right now, but obviously we can cut it out. You could use it for blooper footage or something later. Maybe a Halloween clip. I don't know. But last night, my husband went out with a friend to a cigar bar, because this guy, for some reason, that's like the only time they hang out, they go to a cigar bar together. So they were in downtown.
Ew, he probably smelled bad when he came home.
I always make him jump right in the shower
So
as soon as he
gross.
comes home.
Yeah.
So he goes out to the cigar bar with him, has a cigar, has a couple glasses of whiskey, and he's walking back to his car. And he felt like something hit him, like in the shoulder, like it was almost like a person, like
Right.
when they hit shoulders walking by a little
Right.
too close.
Checked him.
Checked him, right? And he
Yeah.
turned around expecting somebody to be there, and nobody was there. He got
Oh my
home and he goes to get in the shower, and he's got a red mark on his shoulder where he got hit.
No.
And he's like,
guy who does not celebrate Halloween.
yeah,
That
he has a red mark on his
dude,
shoulder,
that's
and
some
he's like,
paranormal shit right there.
this is where I felt like I got hit. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, because at first I thought he was where he was saying it like it happened at home in our house, and I was kind of
no.
I was
You
kind of
better not be bringing something.
I was
attached
kind of
something.
like
Ugh.
skeeved out for a second, and he's looking at me. He's like, "Are you like freaked out?" And I'm like, "Let me
Fuck
look."
yeah.
I'm like, "What does it look like?" I'm like, "Does it have a handprint?" And I'm like
Ugh.
going over and like checking it out and stuff. And then he retold it, and he said something about being downtown. I was like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah, when I was crossing the street." And I'm like,
Yeah, it's not like he hit a light pole or something with his shoulder because he's in
No.
the middle of the street.
he felt like something hit. And he's like, "It's just weird that it's in the same
a bird.
it's in the same
or-
spot."
Oh my god. Well, he might be a Halloween believer now.
I
so-
don't know. Well,
Yikes.
he believes in aliens. He believes in paranormal. He believes in ghosts. He believes in
Great.
all that stuff.
I do too. I've had an experience as well. So
Yeah.
I won't go into that, but yeah.
I've never had an experience, but I'm not closed-minded to
Right.
it, you know? Like I don't invite
You're
the
like, bring it on,
experience.
ghosts. Let's
No.
go.
I'm
no.
not inviting any
Where
of that shit
Were you
into my life.
Were you a part of our like Ouija board experiences?
Fuck no.
You were with us.
Fuck no. No, I would never be on board with that. Fuck that. That
Yeah.
just opens up like a portal.
Oh,
to
it was
hell.
awful.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I dabbled in that
Don't do
stuff. I dabbled in that stuff with our mutual friend Mary in early days of college. We had
Never.
that thing
I was
in the
never there.
dorm.
I was. Oh no.
Did you have any experience?
Oh yeah, like that thing went off of the board and went across the room, like out the door. And we were like just had our fingertips on it, and it just
No.
It was
Get
insane.
the fuck out of here.
And
I
then
was probably at work. I
and
was
then
at
we were-
Applebee's making money.
Mary.
Fucking with ghosts.
Mary was
Yeah.
communicating. She was communicating with something, and I can't remember the name. It started with an
I
A.
remember the story.
And we asked the Ouija board, "What is your name?" And we followed it, and it spelled out the name. And I later told my husband, who was dating at the time, about it, who has grown up devout Christian, you know, and
He was probably pissed.
he was pissed. He was like, that he named it. He's like, "That is an angel of death. That is in the Bible. You need to stay the fuck away."
Was this before Mary's car accident?
I don't remember. I think, no, it was after.
Oh, okay.
It was
'Cause Mary,
after.
our friend was in a really bad car accident where she was like we were
Right.
18 or something. I think she went to the children's
Because we were in
hospital.
college. That happened in high school.
Oh, we're gonna have to text Mary.
I know. Was this before or after her accident?
I
Because
need
she
to
almost
know.
died in this accident, like straight up, like
Car-
coma and everything.
yeah,
similar to my daughter's accident.
Yeah, it was wrapped around a tree.
Moral of the story is don't play with Ouija boards. Got it.
Don't fuck with Ouija boards, man.
No, he was like,
Mm.
"Stay the fuck away from that. She
Nope.
needs to throw that thing away. She needs to burn it. Whatever."
Yep.
And she would she had it for a long time in
I
the
know.
trunk of her car.
I know. She would tell me about it. I don't
Oh.
think so.
Why would you drive around with that in you and like invite it with you?
No.
I remember we were in 5th grade with my friend Jenna, and we had we were trying to do like a seance in her driveway. And we were
I
and
did
we
that.
were doing trying to talk to Thomas Edison, and I remember an airplane had gone over our head. We're the lights, it's a sign that he's here. It was so ridiculous. We were in 5th grade.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
We definitely did light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Oh yeah, we did.
I love the movie The Craft. I could
Yeah.
quote that thing from start to finish.
But even in my atheist days,
Watch that.
I haven't watched that in a long time either. But even in my atheist days, I knew Ouija boards were nothing to fuck with. Don't fuck with that
Right.
shit.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, she's an interesting character in our lives because she has lost a lot of people close to her.
Mhm.
2 really close friends to suicide, her dad to suicide, her brother to overdose.
Oh my God.
Just a lot of people really close to her in her life, and she's turned out insanely normal
Yeah.
Despite-
it's weird.
despite all of it.
Yeah.
But I think the Ouija board thing was a way for her to what maybe she wanted to communicate.
Cope or something.
Yeah.
get
I
it.
don't know.
Makes sense.
I just go to a psychic at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Wow.
Yeah, why not?
But I had an experience at the house, one of the houses that my parents lived in after I left for college, because my mom, after her divorce, they had to rent, and they went from like basically house to house in the same neighborhood. And on one of the streets that I never lived in, but my brother and my sister did, and I was just over there visiting, I was talking to my stepdad in the kitchen, and there was a glass on the table, a good like foot, into the table, and it like flew off the table when I was standing there talking to him. It was like something had whacked it off the
Oh my
table,
God.
and there was no wetness underneath. There was no, condensation.
Yeah, it wasn't
We're
like
like,
it slid
it
off
wasn't
the
like it
counter.
slid off,
Right.
right? And we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, well, that's weird. Okay.
That is weird.
And then another time, I don't know if it was the same day, but we were talking, and the big round clock that was up on the wall came out from the wall and then dropped down, like something from behind it had smacked it and pushed it out and then down. And then I tell this to my mom, and then she tells me how my then 3-year-old brother was seeing a naked woman in his closet.
The fuck? How did I not know any of
I'm
this?
like, okay. And then she tells me that at night she would hear somebody whispering in her ear, "Mom, mom, mom." And she would open her eyes thinking that my brother or sister would be there needing her, because my sister, I think, was like 8 at the time. My brother was 3. I was out of the house. They're much younger than me. And nobody would be there when she would wake up. And I'm like,
chills.
how did you continue to live there? I
Hell
would have been
no.
out like in an instant. I would have been out that day.
I've heard that the ghosts that emulate children are like demons.
Yeah. And that house now,
That's what I've
I
heard
live right
from,
down
like,
the
all
road.
little old paranormal shows I used to watch.
I live right down the road from that same house.
Oh, the Pomelo one?
Yes.
I'm gonna have a nightmare tonight.
Seriously.
I literally had a nightmare last night, so thanks.
Happy Halloween.
Have you ever had your kid wake up in the middle of the night and like stand over you and stare at you until you wake up, and like their hair is in their face and they look like from The Grudge?
Right.
The fuck?
And then to top that, she did that and then was like, "Mommy, there's a glowing man in my room."
Stop.
I was like, okay. Like, now I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, like, is she imagining this? Is it a ghost? Is there like a real guy in there? What do I do? So I like go in there and I like lay down. I don't see anything. And I'm like, can you like describe him? Where was he? And she was like, just standing right there, just a glowing man.
That's so creepy. Did you move or burn the house down? Like, what did you do?
I should have. This house is like, this house is one of those where it's like, I'm sure it was like built on like an Indian burial ground or something. We've had the worst luck in this house. Oh my God. But yeah, it happened one other time after that, like a couple of weeks later, she told me the glowing man was back. And then that was it. Okay. And that was like a year or 2 ago. I asked her about it recently, funny enough. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
It's interesting how kids don't remember, but I think that kids are more of like a conduit to the spiritual realm. They can see things that adults can't.
They are
we're too like consumed with our like everyday life that we're not open to it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
There's stuff about that.
I'm not a big like I said, I've never really had any experiences or things that I could chalk up to an experience. Thank God, I don't want it to happen. Please, never.
In college, I was with my boyfriend at the time, and we were laying in bed, and like, no joke, there was this like black clouded entity, I guess, over us. And we both saw it, and it was like one of those like shared experiences, and it was angry, and we both knew it was angry.
Did you have like paralysis where you couldn't move?
Yes, literally could not move, couldn't scream, couldn't do anything. I was just like, do you see that? He was like, yes. We like didn't know how to handle it, and he's like, okay, we're just gonna tell it to go away.
Yeah.
And so we just like kept saying like, go away, go away, go away. Like, we don't want you here. And it left. And
my husband had a situation like that.
I'm telling you, like, we weren't drunk. We weren't on drugs. Like, nothing like that. Just like a normal Tuesday night laying in bed. But it happened.
My husband stayed at a guy's house. I think this was back in high school. He was sleeping at a friend's house. It was like a friend of a friend. He was sleeping at the guy was older than them. He and his friend were sleeping over at some other guy's house. And he's sleeping in this room that was like a guest room. And he woke up and he was like, he could not move. He couldn't talk. He couldn't do anything. And there was like this black something over him. It was like sleep paralysis to a point where he's like, I was fully awake. I just couldn't move, hard to breathe. It was such a weird situation. And when he woke up the next morning and he told him about that, the guy that lived there was like, oh yeah, my roommate just died in there from an OD. The fuck?
Interesting.
Just, yeah.
How did we get here, you guys?
I don't
Oh my
know. Oh, the guy behind us at the window.
Oh, okay.
Paranormal. Sorry.
How did we get here?
How did we get here? This got really, really dark, really fast.
Demons.
Have you met anybody that has gone through? I know you said that your cancer is very rare, but have you met anybody that's gone through that cancer or similar at all?
No. I did a support group once. It was like a Zoom support thing, and I hated it, honestly. It was way too depressing. Everyone was, much older than me and was talking about their stories, which is, beautiful and great and good. But it was also like, I'm trying to like be positive here. And I don't want to hear about how like you're on death's door right now. Like, I'm so sorry for you, of course, but this isn't doing anything for my mental health.
You need to have an uplifted, you need to be like uplifted.
Exactly. And so I was like, this is not for me. Like, if this helps you, great, go for it, but not for me. So those were the only people that I've like, I guess, technically met with my type of cancer. Otherwise, no.
Do you have anything that you would say or any advice if anybody that's out there that listens to the podcast has a diagnosis like this or knows somebody that does, if that you can pass along?
Absolutely. So my biggest thing is I'm such an advocate now for if something hurts you, get it checked out. The amount of people that I know that have, oh, well, this hurts. And then, a couple months later, well, now look at what's happening. If you had only gone to the doctor when you should have type of thing. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Go to the doctor if you're able to get things checked out. For appendiceal cancer specific, you need a specialist because it is so rare. They treat it mostly like it's colorectal, but it's not. You need to find a specialist in one of the biggest hospitals in the country. A lot of the times, like my main hospital is University of Miami, but I also see doctors in MD Anderson at Texas and at Sloan Kettering in New York. Sloan Kettering is where I do my big surgeries because they have a specialist there. The first time I went, I didn't have to pay for a single thing. They got us room and board. They took care of our Ubers, food for my father who came with me at the time. So when people say, oh, well, I can't go to New York and go to this hospital, like I can't do that. They will work with you. Like find options, get 2 or 3 doctors working together on different things. It is such a specific cancer. And there are so many things that they, even just the last few years that they've had breakthroughs with, don't settle for the, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to treat you. My first doctor in Miami, I wasn't at UM, I was at a different hospital, like when I first got diagnosed. And that's how they were. They were like, we don't know what to do. And then so I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. Like, they were like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know.
Live.
So that's when I was like, I don't know. Do I do this chemo? Do I not? Like, should I? So you have to advocate for yourself because no one's going to advocate for you. Go find those specialists. Go find, those second and third opinions if you can. Like, do what you have to. Do not give up.
Have you done anything outside of allopathic care that you feel maybe has benefited you? Do you ever dabble in like holistic or alternative medicine?
I do. A friend sent me up with a holistic doctor, Dr. Mary, funny enough. She does acupuncture. She does craniosacral. And like Reiki and like all of that stuff. And so I've been seeing her the last few years. And it's, it's one of those things where in many ways you never know really if it's working or not. But I always leave there feeling better, feeling like it's working. Like, she gives me affirmations to work on and she does the craniosacral where, we're telling my body to heal itself and to be better and all of that. And I like to practice those things as often as I'm able to. I see her about once a month now. I'm still going, after a few years because to me, it can't hurt. That's for sure. And you never know. Like what we were just talking about, like with the whole Halloween thing, there are things that are bigger than us. So might as well try it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't work for me, it seems. So might as well.
Yeah. If it works for your mental health, if anything, if it's
That
working
alone.
when you leave there and you're feeling better and it's giving you a positive attitude, because I think a lot of times your attitude has everything to do with how well you're going to get through what you're going through. And you've got a great attitude. So if somebody's just like, oh, this sucks and I'm never going to make it and all this, I feel like, well, then you won't,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
well, then that's
quote
it then.
mind over matter
Right,
exists for a
right,
reason.
right.
And I know that there's science behind that
There
too. I
is.
mean, I've seen,
Oh, yeah.
if you think that you're doomed, you are doomed.
That's right.
If the world is ending, your world is ending.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think is a really good positive note for us to end on too. We really admire your bravery. Number
Yep.
one, we admire your spirit and your positivity and your outlook on it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, see where you go on this journey. And I hope that we can stay connected and maybe down the road, maybe sometime next year, we can reconnect and get an update from you and bring you back on.
Thank you guys.
I would
Absolutely.
love
I
that.
really enjoy this. I'm like, all right, when are we going out for drinks next?
I know, because you'll be part of our friend group now. So come on in.
Come on in. Real quick, I really want to give you this little opportunity at the end here. Feel free to plug your business for anybody in Florida looking for a
Yeah,
family
good idea.
photographer. So how can people find you?
Thank you. So my business name is Lindsay Ann Photography, Lindsay with an A.
And what is your website? Throw that out there too.
LindsayAnnPhoto.com.
All right. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your story and laughing with us and crying with us too.
Thank you guys so much. This was wonderful. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you too.
Thank you for listening. You can find us at our brand new website, www.ican'tevenimagine.com, and find us on our socials at Instagram at ICEI_podcast or on Facebook at I Can't Even Imagine - a podcast for moms. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.